Hello everyone. Last lecture was on de novo biosynthesis of purines. So as a continuation to that, we will discuss today purine salvage pathway, that is the another pathway for purine synthesis, and its associated disorder, that is Lesch-Nyhan syndrome. Okay, so as we all know that the purine bases are synthesized de novo by means of the raw materials and how they are synthesized de novo from scratch. We discussed it in the previous lecture. Now we also discussed that there is another way of purine synthesis, and that is by recycling of the degradation products. Whatever DNA or RNA is present in the body, that is continuously degraded as well. So all those degradation products can again be recycled or taken up and converted back into the purine nucleotides. So this is kind of using it back or saving it from getting wasted. So because of this, it is also known as salvage pathway, or something that is able to save or utilize the purines. Okay, so salvage pathway is important because it saves the fuel. That means all the energy that is needed to synthesize purine nucleotides from the scratch and through all the raw materials uh, from the initial stages will require energy. So this is going to save the fuel of the whole process. And the other thing is some tissues and organs, especially brain, the rapidly dividing cells, that is going to include the WBCs, bone marrow, these organs are able to synthesize nucleotides by salvage pathway only. And in humans, all the other cells are also able to synthesize nucleotides by salvage pathway. So for these organs, particularly brain, bone marrow, etc., salvage pathway is very important, and we'll know how any defect or any disorder that leads to improper functioning or improper salvage pathway, then it is going to lead to problems and diseases. Okay. So in salvage pathway, two enzymes are basically involved. As I told you that this is a pathway wherein the bases, the purine bases, are again taken up and they are converted to corresponding nucleotides. So there should be enzymes involved for this transfer. So there are two enzymes that you'll have to remember. One is APRT and the second one is HGPRT. The APRT and HGPRT enzymes are important, and you'll have to remember both of them. And especially HGPRT is going to be more important as it has got applied aspects associated with it. So APRT stands for adenine phosphoribosyl transferase. As the name suggests, that this is going to convert adenine base to its corresponding nucleotide adenosine, while HGPRT is going to convert hypoxanthine and guanine to corresponding guanosine or inosine. Okay. So firstly, I would like to give you a base how whenever there is breakdown of RNA or DNA into the corresponding purine bases, the body tries to salvage or save or recycle those bases again into the corresponding nucleotides, so that they can again be incorporated for the formation of DNA or RNA or energy carrier molecules for that matter. So that means they will be converted to their corresponding nucleotides. So these purines, what happens is when they are degraded, when RNA or DNA is broken down, then these purines, that is adenosine and guanosine, what happens, the adenosine gets converted to inosine, and inosine is again converted to hypoxanthine. We discussed in the de novo synthesis only that hypoxanthine is the nucleic nitrogenous base that forms inosine or IMP, and adenosine is formed from adenine base plus phosphate. The nucleic acid for guanosine, the nucleic acid guanosine is formed from the base guanine. So what happens is when the breakdown is taking place, these purine nucleotides, if it is adenosine, then it is going to get converted to inosine, and then from inosine to hypoxanthine, and the purine guanosine is also going to get converted to guanine. So in effect, all these hypoxanthine and guanine, they are going to get converted again to the purine nucleotides by means of this enzyme hypoxanthine guanine phosphoribosyltransferase transferase. If this conversion is not taking place and whatever does not get converted into these purine nucleotides again, then that will be further degraded into xanthine, and then it will be again degraded to uric acid. This uric acid is going to get excreted in urine. Okay, and this is also to be kept in mind that when uric acid is in the excretion level is within normal limits, then there won't be any problem. But if there is an excess amount of uric acid or accumulation of uric acid, then this may lead to its accumulation in joint spaces, that will be leading to gout, or it may get accumulated in the kidney tubules or nephrons, then kidney tubules or the passage urinary tract, where it may form stones. Okay, so these two are the applied aspect. These two are the problems that may arise because of excess uric acid. So here the basic thing was to emphasize that DNA or RNA is broken down, and while being broken down, the guanosine is also going to get converted to guanine, the adenosine is going to get converted to hypoxanthine via inosine, and then they can be recycled back by means of certain enzymes. So the reaction goes somewhat in this manner. Adenine is converted to adenosine monophosphate, and the enzyme responsible is adenine phosphoribosyl transferase, APRT, and along with it PRPP is also required. In the de novo synthesis also I emphasize that PRPP or phosphoribosyl pyrophosphate is an important intermediate product which is required for the synthesis of purines de novo, for the synthesis of purines through the salvage pathway, and also for the synthesis of pyrimidine. So this is a very important molecule, and it's energy rich molecule, and we have to learn about this so that we can keep track of how and where it is utilized in various reactions. The second reaction is of conversion of hypoxanthine to inosine monophosphate, and the enzyme is hypoxanthine guanine phosphoribosyl transferase, which is the enzyme which converts both hypoxanthine and guanosine to its corresponding nucleotides. And again PRPP is utilized here also to form these nucleotides. Now one thing that you have to note here is that HGPRT, this enzyme may be deficient, or there may be mutation in the HGPRT gene, or the gene that is responsible for the synthesis of this HGPRT enzyme, and this defect leads to a syndrome known as Lesch-Nyhan syndrome. We are going to discuss this Lesch-Nyhan syndrome next. Okay, again to recapitulate, hypoxanthine, guanine and adenine, all these bases can be recycled through the salvage pathway into their corresponding nucleotides, guanosine monophosphate, inosine monophosphate and adenosine monophosphate. And here we can see that these products are going to have feedback inhibition on their corresponding enzymes. Okay, so now let's discuss about Lesch-Nyhan syndrome. This term Lesch-Nyhan syndrome and the description of the disease was first given by Michael Lesch and William Nyhan. So this is a defect because of this syndrome is caused because of defect or lack in the HGPRT enzyme, which is characterized by its severe deficiency or complete absence. Okay, so the gene for this enzyme is located on the X chromosome, and this deficiency may result because of deletion of the HGPRT gene or mutations present, or because of mRNA splicing mutations. All these may lead to deficiency or complete absence of this enzyme. So as I mentioned earlier that this is an X-linked recessive disease, so that is why it will affect only males. So there are a variety of features that we will see in Lesch-Nyhan syndrome, and as we discussed earlier that the organs where purine salvage pathway is important are brain, bone marrow, to mention a few. So because of this syndrome is of particular importance for brain development, and we will see symptoms because of that. The first symptom that we are going to see is hyperuricemia. And why is there hyperuricemia? Because in salvage pathway, as we discussed earlier, that there is involvement of PRPP for the synthesis through the salvage pathway of the nucleotides. Now when this pathway is blocked or the salvage pathway is not going forward, this PRPP will get accumulated, or rather it will get diverted towards the de novo synthesis. Now we all know that it is involved in de novo synthesis also, and it is a stimulator, and it favors the forward direction for the de novo synthesis. So with accumulation of it, or with increase in PRPP because of its lesser utilization in the salvage pathway, this PRPP will get diverted, and this increase in PRPP levels for de novo synthesis are going to favor the de novo pathway as well. And because of this increased synthesis through the de novo pathway, the purine synthesis rate will increase, and this increase is significant increase. It may increase up to 200 folds. So if you can remember that the committed step that we had discussed in the feedback regulation, the amidotransferase step, is the step where the accumulation of this PRPP is going to affect. So this accumulation of PRPP will stimulate the committed step of amidotransferase, and this will cause unnecessary de novo synthesis of purines. And because of this, when it is more than the demand that is required for the synthesis of DNA or RNA or energy carrier molecules, then this is going to redirect it to catabolism, and it is going to break down. So all the purine that is synthesized and not taken up into DNA or RNA or any other functional material, it is going to get degraded to form uric acid. So this is the reason why there is hyperuricemia in Lesch-Nyhan syndrome. Now this accumulation of uric acid, in the earlier slides we saw that when there is accumulation of uric acids in the joint spaces, it leads to inflammation and arthritis around the joints, and this is the reason for gout. And these uric acid crystals may also get accumulated in kidney and the urinary tract. So this accumulation may lead to kidney stones, which may present as frequent urinary tract infections, and in severe cases it may also lead to renal failure. Okay, so this is a heritable form of gout. The second thing which we are going to note here is there is decrease in the levels of IMP and GMP. Just because they are not converted into IMP and GMP by the salvage pathway, there will be a decrease in IMP and GMP levels. And another important characteristic feature of Lesch-Nyhan syndrome is mental aberrations and neurological symptoms. What happens is, in these patients, usually there is poor muscle development also and poor mental development as well, because brain is affected, other organs are also affected. So because of this poor mental development, we may see mental retardation, mental aberrations that may be in the form of involuntary movements or self-mutilation. What is self-mutilation? The patient, because of his mental deficiencies or deficits, the patient they tend to self-mutilate or harm themselves. They often bite their own lips or fingers. And as I told you that because there is developmental deficit in motor functions as well, so we may see that there is poor development of muscles, and also usually these children are wheelchair bound. They are not able to walk properly on their own. So by the age of 2 to 3 years, we can picturize them as wheelchair bound patients who often tend to harm themselves, bite themselves. They may get their fingers intertwined into the spokes of the wheelchairs, and also all these kind of self-harm and mutilations you may see in these patients. And also these patients show aggression. They are aggressive also, so this also has to be taken care of. So they may hurt others as well. There is severe muscle weakness also. So these are some of the photographs where we can see that the child looks very much like mentally retarded. The muscle growth and the growth of the baby is the growth of the child is not very good. It's poor growth as well only. And we can also see self mutilation, that these children tend to harm themselves. They tend to bite their own hands and fingers, and they are also aggressive and can be harmful, and they may hurt others as well. So this is about Lesch-Nyhan syndrome. Now for treatment, the treatment part still is not very foolproof, and it is often to control the features of hyperuricemia that may lead to gout or renal stones. So we tend to decrease the uric acid levels or somehow the symptoms of inflammation. And the other thing is the IMP and GMP for this replenishment Gene therapy is also being tested, although it is not very successful in most of the cases. So treatment till now is mostly symptomatic of every problem or symptom that we see in Lesch-Nyhan syndrome.